What's up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my full card breakdown and predictions for UFC 262. We have Charles Oliveira going against Michael Chandler, and we're back in the big cage, which is going to be interesting, back with some fans as well. So this card, we saw it last time with the fans. Like, the card was like 10 times better. The fans were pumped up, and it seemed like every single fight was just phenomenal, and we're back to the fans here again, which is awesome. So the card has taken some hits. We have lost some fights, but I still think the card as a whole is very good. Is it better than UFC 261? Not at all, but I still think it has potential to be a very, very good card. And especially from a betting perspective, I think this is probably one of the best, if not the best card from a betting perspective all year. Like, there's just so many spots that stick out, and I have a ton of bets already. I have like 8 bets already. Posted them all on Monday, which is insane. So this could be the most action I've had all year. But yeah, there's a ton of spots to stick out. So before we get into it, a couple announcements to make. I'm going to be doing that contest I do for every single pay-per-view. It's the Significant Strike contest and the DraftKings contest. We'll start with the Significant Strike contest. To enter it, first, leave a like on the video. Second, subscribe if you're not subscribed already. And then third, comment down how many Significant Strikes you think that Chandler and Oliveira will combine for. Kind of a tough one this week because I feel like this fight can end in any single round. But whoever gets closest will get $25 to first. If there is a tie, it's going to be who commented first. And the other one is the DraftKings contest. To enter that, of course, leave a like, subscribe if you have not yet, and then comment down your DraftKings username. I can get up to 200 people in there. We typically don't fill it. So comment down your usernames, comment down the strikes, and giving out some free money. Gave over like $1,000 since I've been doing this. So just something to say thanks for all the support week in and week out. Also want to point out that it's still early in the month. Also a great time to sign up for the Patreon. The most popular option is going to be that UFC betting tier. Did add the advanced stats model last month. People seem to like that. The matchup templates as well. We take the fighters, put them side by side, go over the stats courtesy of Uncle Weezy. You get my early bets. I posted like 8 yesterday. They're all there. My betting breakdown videos, my betting article, Hail Mary Parlay, just a ton of extra content, access to Discord, which is probably the most valuable option, an extremely active Discord. We talk all week, and especially on fight nights, is always a fun time. So sign up for that. $10 a month, $2.50 per card. You can't ask for a much better deal than that. And then live stream is going to be Friday, as always, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. And then on Saturday as well, 1 hour prior to when the fights start. So had a pretty good audience last week for that, so I'm going to keep doing that. Just going over my final bets, final thoughts, all that good stuff 1 hour prior to the card. So with all that out of the way, hit the like, hit the subscribe. Near 11,000 subscribers, so if we can get 11,000 in the near future, that would be sweet. But let's get into the card. Starting with the first fight of the night, we have Sean Soriano going against Christos Giagos. And we have, 1 second here. All right, I had to pull something out. Okay, so we have Christos Giagos. He is 31 years old, 5'10", 71.5-inch reach, 18-8 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Sean Soriano, 31 years old, 5'9", 71-inch reach, 14-6 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. And this line just opened up, I think, late last night. And Giagos opened up -225. He's already -235. Soriano opened up +175. And he's currently like +178. So yeah, interesting fight here, especially considering that we have seen Soriano in the UFC before. I think he fought in like 2015, 2016, and he did go on a 3-fight skid, and I believe he lost by submission in 2 of those fights as well. And that's kind of the theme with Soriano. I don't want to look into the stats too much because his fights were 6 years ago, but when those 3 fights, he did have a 55% takedown defense, and guys would just take him down. He gave up his back quite a few times as well. And I kind of feel like the path to victory is written on the wall here for Giagos. Going and getting takedowns, Giagos does average about 3 takedowns per 50 minutes. Solid wrestler. The cardio is not the best. He does slow down as the fight goes on, but I do think he can ride out at least 2 of those 3 rounds. Round 3 might be a little bit sketchy, but I do think Giagos does get those takedowns, some top control. Don't think he finishes Soriano, but I do think he wins this fight. Just a kind of a tough task for Soriano coming in on like a week short notice as well. So I'm going to take Giagos here. I'm going to take him to win by decision. It was supposed to be Christos Giagos versus Joel Alvarez, which would have been a very good fight. This fight should be okay, but I do think Giagos kind of takes him down, lays on him for 50 minutes. Not the most exciting card or fight to kick off the card, but I do think Giagos does get it done by decision. All right, next we have Kevin Aguilar going against Tucker Lutz. We have Aguilar, who is 32 years old, 5'7", 73-inch reach, 17-4, and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. He is on a 3-fight skid. Tucker Lutz, 26 years old, 5'7", 72-inch reach, 11-1 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Contender Series guys fought on the Contender Series twice. And we'll take a look at the odds here. We have Tucker Lutz open up a -135, currently -115. Aguilar open up +105, currently -105. So it's kind of getting towards a pick'em here, and probably where the fight should be. I mean, you take a look at Lutz, and honestly, I'm not all that impressed with the guy. I was able to watch his 2 Contender Series fights, a couple of other fights, but there's not much tape on the guy as a whole. But, you know, take a look at the guy. He fought Chase Gibson in his first Contender Series fight. Didn't shoot for any takedown. Maybe shot for 1 takedown, if that, but got 0 takedowns in that fight. Was able to piece him up. Chase Gibson took that fight on like a week's notice. And he was getting tagged in that fight, and that's kind of what I noticed with Tucker Lutz. Like, the guy has a 47% striking defense thus far in 2 Contender Series fights. He is very, very hittable. He doesn't look all that comfortable on the feet. And I was really looking at a potential Kevin Aguilar bet. It's just what concerns me is the volume in this fight. I think that Aguilar is probably the better fighter as a whole, but Lutz does throw a ton of volume. But with that said, like, he's really hittable as well. So this fight is very, very close. I know a lot of people are very low on Aguilar. I feel like I'm going to be one of the few people that are going to pick Aguilar here, and I do like him in this fight. I think he's a better fighter. He has fought the better level of competition. Lutz, very good wrestler, but I don't think that's going to be a factor in this fight. Aguilar, phenomenal takedown defense. You can say what you want about him, but his takedown defense is, you know, next level. 87% takedown defense. He was able to stuff, I think, like, 8 takedowns from Enrique Barzola, which is fantastic. Was able to stuff some takedowns from Dan Ige as well. Stuffed 3 takedowns from Dan Ige. So, yeah, I like Aguilar here. I think he's going to land the harder shots, the better shots. I think he's more defensively sound by a wide margin, and he's fought the better competition as well. But the reason I'm not probably pulling the trigger on Aguilar here is the volume concerns. I mean, he didn't throw anything in his last fight. He got outlanded by Charles Rosa, 69-53. Charles Rosa, the grappler. Not a great sign there. Got outlanded 28-9. Got knocked out against Zubair Tuhugov. And then got outlanded 71-33 against Dan Ige. So can Tucker Lutz come forward, throw a ton of volume, maybe win a decision that way? Sure. But I do think Tucker Lutz is going to get hit. He's going to get hit hard. He's going to get hit clean. And I do think Aguilar is actually live for the knockout. So I'm going to take Kevin Aguilar to win by KO, but I really don't want to put my money on this guy. So I'm going to pass from a betting perspective, but I do like Kevin Aguilar to get it done by KO. All right, next we have the People's Main Event, the fight that everybody is looking forward to. Gina Mazany going against Priscilla Cachoeira, the zombie girl, and they call her the zombie girl for a reason, and we'll talk about why. But Mazany, she is 32 years old, 5'6", 68.5-inch reach, 7-4, and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Priscilla Cachoeira, she is 32 years old, 5'7", 65-inch reach, 9-3, and 2-3 in her last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds, and what's extremely surprising is Mazany is, I believe, the biggest favorite on the card, which is I can't believe. Second biggest favorite behind Christos Giagos. So, which is still, it's insane. Open up -205, currently -210. If you bet on Gina Mazany at that price, I don't know what to tell you. But Cachoeira opened up +165, currently +175. And yeah, so like I said, they call Priscilla Cachoeira the zombie girl. Some call her Catch a Beating. And the reason they call her this is because, yeah, she has no striking defense. You take a look at the stats here, and 42% striking defense for Cachoeira. She lands 3.84, and she absorbs 7.93 significant strikes per minute with a significant strike differential of -4.09, which is just unheard of. I mean, she's there to be hit. She has absolutely no striking defense, but she's the zombie girl. She comes forward like a zombie. She gets hit. She doesn't go down. Very tough. And, fun fact is Priscilla Cachoeira actually fought Valentina Shefchenko, and that could have been one of the most lopsided fights in UFC history. Shevchenko outlanded her 95-2. She took her down, dominated her, and ultimately submitted her in that second round. But Yeah, she fought Shefchenko, which is crazy to think about. Against Molly McCann, she got hit a ton as well. Molly McCann outlanded her 107 to 75. And a big aspect of that fight was Molly McCann was able to go out there and get 2 takedowns. Molly McCann, the boxer, was able to get 2 takedowns. And I kind of think that's how Gina Mazany wins this fight, is going out there and getting takedowns. I think if Mazany does strike with Cachoeira, she could possibly get caught. We've seen Mazany knocked out a couple times before, but I do think Mazany probably should go to that wrestling early and often here. Mazany does average 4.41 takedowns per 50 minutes with a 63% takedown accuracy, very good. Cachoeira, 69% takedown defense, not terrible, but like I said, Molly McCann was able to take her down. I do think Mazany can have success as well. But yeah, on the feet, it's going to be interesting. I think Mazany, even on the feet, can have a ton of success just because of the no striking defense of Cachoeira. But Cachoeira is dangerous. She was able to go out there and get a finish, and actually better as an underdog against Shanna Dobson. She's like plus 165. Was not expecting her to go out there and start Dobson in the first 40 seconds, but she was able to go out there and finish Dobson, and she is dangerous. We have seen Mazany finish before. We've seen her finish in the first round. So I think if Cachoeira does win, it is in that first round. It's just I think Mazany does go to those takedowns. Mazany, training with James Krause, I think she comes out here with a really good game plan and gets this fight down to the mat early and often. And I don't want to say she finishes Zombie Girl because she's extremely hard to finish, but I do think that Mazany can win by decision here. If there's a finish in this fight, it's probably Cachoeira getting a knockout, but I'm going to take Mazany to win. I'd recommend not betting this fight at all, especially with Mazany at minus 210. She probably shouldn't be that big of a favorite, but I do think she has what it takes to win this fight, and it's probably a good matchup for her as well. But yeah, Gina Mazany, people's main event. All right, another fight that everybody's looking forward to. We have Jamie Pickett going against Jordan Wright, 2 guys that I typically would look to fade, but got to pick one here. We have Jamie Pickett, 32 years old, 6'2", 80-inch reach, going to have a 3-inch reach advantage, 11-5 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Jordan Wright, 29 years old, 6'2", 77-inch reach, 11-1 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here, and this is a dead pick'em, minus 110 each way. And yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with that line, but I kind of have a strong lean in this fight, and it's going to be the Pickett side. You take a look at Jordan Wright, and he has that karate style, that karate background. But with that said, he's extremely hittable. He does absorb 8.02 significant strikes per minute, a significant strike differential of minus 3.34, and he has a 40% striking defense thus far in I think like 3 or 4 fights, which is worse than Priscilla Cachoeira. Like, yeah, his striking defense is terrible. If you pressure this guy, back him up, get him uncomfortable, he does not like being hit. We saw him get knocked out in the first minute against Fluffy Hernandez. Hernandez came forward, knocked him out. We saw Buckley hurt him bad in that first round, ultimately finish him in that second. The guy has no chin. The guy has no striking defense. The guy has no ground game. And I posted this on Twitter. Jordan Wright, in his first 7 fights, his first 7 wins, his opponents combined for an 0-36 record. 0-36. So all 7 of those fighters that he beat had 0 wins, which is, padded to the max. Like, we see padded records, but we don't see that. But yes, he did get a win over Ike Villanueva. And yes, he did get a win over Gabriel Checo, which was a good win. I went back and watched that fight. Checo did gas out in like that first round, and Wright was able to hurt him. And Wright is dangerous, but I think an interesting aspect of this fight is going to be the fact that Jamie Pickett's tough. Jamie Pickett is very durable. 16 fights for Pickett. He has never been knocked out. And he's fighting guys like Chukwu, who we just saw last week. He fought Pinel Soriano as well, went 3 rounds with him. And I don't even want to think about what Soriano would do to Jordan Wright, or even Chukwu. I don't even want to think what Chukwu would do to Jordan Wright as well. But the chin is a major factor here, considering Wright has never been to decision, considering Wright has never been to the 3rd round. And Pickett, when he lets his hands go, he's actually pretty good. I think he's very accurate. I think he hits hard as well. And if he just comes forward in this fight, like, he's going to win this fight. And I guess another aspect of this fight would be Pickett going for takedowns. You take a look at Pickett, his wrestling's pretty good. He's able to take down Chukwu. On the regional scene, he was able to get a ton of takedowns as well. brown belt in BJJ, and he's been a brown belt for a while. When I saw that, I was kind of surprised because he only has like a submission on his record, but still maybe uses that brown belt in this fight. But I think this is a really good fight for Pickett outside of Wright, knocking him out. And if Soriano can't, if Chukwu can't, I'd be kind of shocked if Jordan Wright did knock out Pickett here. And is Jordan Wright going to win his first decision? Is Jordan Wright going to go to his first third round? I don't know, but I like Pickett in this fight. But like I said, these are two guys that typically you'll want to fade. But I'm going to take Pickett here for the win. I'm going to take him to win by a second round knockout for Pickett. But yeah, I'm actually looking forward to that fight. It should be pretty fun. All right, Antonina Shevchenko going against Andrea Lee. Shevchenko, 36 years old, 5'8", 68-inch reach, 9-2, and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Andrea Lee, she is 32 years old, going to be younger by 4 years. 5'6", 69.5-inch reach, going to have an inch and a half of reach. 11-5 and 2-3 in her last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here and some very, very, very interesting live movement on this one. So Shevchenko actually opened up minus 195, and she's currently minus 125. Lee opened up plus 160. She's currently plus 105, and I have a very strong feeling that by fight time, Lee's going to be a favorite just by how much the line shifted. It went from like plus 150 to plus 120 in the matter of like an hour. It was crazy. Wish I taped it sooner. I would have loved the plus 150 on Lee, but by the time it was all said and done, she was sitting at like plus 112. At that point, probably don't want anything to do with this fight. But if you got it early, like, yeah, good line. I mean, she should probably even be the slight favorite in this fight, or at least a pick 'em. But you take a look at Andrea Lee and kind of her last couple fights and kind of her career as a whole. Like, she does go to close fights, but in her fight against Joanne Calderwood, I really thought she won that fight. Close fight, but I did think she got it done. Split decision loss. Against Lauren Murphy, I really thought she won that fight. Very close. Split decision loss. Against Roxanne Modafferi, I thought Roxanne did win, but Lee did outlane her 97-60, but Roxanne was able to take her down controller for a decent margin in that fight. And what's a big aspect of this fight, I think, is going to be those takedowns. You take a look at their striking, though. Andrea Lee averages 5.58 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 4.83, significant strike differential of 0.75, 65% striking defense. So she's throwing a ton of volume, very good striking defense to go with it. Take a look at Antonina Shevchenko thus far in a couple UFC fights. She averages 4.09 significant strikes per minute. She absorbs 2.51, 54% striking defense. But I think a huge aspect of this fight, and this is why I ultimately really like Andrea Lee, is going to be those takedowns. Yes, she can be taken down herself, but Antonina Shevchenko only has 1 takedown in the UFC. I don't know if she's going to go to that here. Even if she does, like, Andrea Lee is very hard to hold down. And Andrea Lee actually has, solid ground game, good takedowns, averages about 1.6 takedowns per 50 minutes, 45% takedown accuracy, and Shevchenko does have a 56% takedown defense. Taking a look at the career of Shevchenko, she was taken down once on the Contender Series. She was taken down 5 times by Roxanne Modafferi. Modafferi was like, I think she was like plus 250, plus 280 in that fight against Antonina there. But yeah, Roxanne took her down 5 times. Pudilova took her down. She got a sub off her back there. And then this is a huge red flag here. This is a huge red flag. Caitlyn Chookagian took her down 3 times. Caitlyn Chookagian, the same fighter that had like 0 takedowns prior to that fight. 0 takedowns prior to the Shevchenko fight. And Caitlyn Chookagian, the striker, went out there. Yes, I know she has a brown belt, but still, she had 0 takedowns prior to that fight. She took down Shevchenko, controlled her for basically 15 minutes, majority of that fight, and she won a decision. So I think that path to victory for Lee is definitely on the table. I think a lot of people are seeing what I'm seeing because this line has shifted a bunch. But where the line stands now, I'm probably going to pass. I think the striking's close. I do like the volume of Lee, though, and ultimately I do think Lee can mix in those takedowns. But yeah, she really needs to win here. 3 losses in a row for Andrea Lee, 2 of them being pretty questionable. But I'm going to side with Andrea Lee here to get it done as a dog, but I really don't think she's going to be a dog for soon here. But I'll take Andrea Lee by decision. Maybe the decision probably could be something to look at as well. All right. Mike Grundy versus Lando Vannata. We have Mike Grundy, who is 34 years old, 5'7", 72-inch reach, 12-2 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Lando Vannata, 29 years old, 5'9", 71-inch reach, 11-5-2 and 2-2-1 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here, and we have Mike Grundy opened up minus 175, currently minus 115. Vannata opened up plus 145, currently minus 105. So another closely lined fight, and that's kind of the theme for this card. Like, there are so many closely lined fights. Like, the biggest favorite is Giagos minus 235. Mazany, the second biggest favorite, minus 210. Everything else is like really, really close here. And this fight, I mean, it could play out close. It's kind of one of those striker versus grappler matchups where Grundy, he doesn't throw a ton of volume. Take a look at his last fight against Movsar Evloev, which very, very tough task for Grundy in that fight. But he looked decent for a little bit of that fight, especially in that first round. Almost got Evloev out of there. He had a very, very tight submission. I don't know how Evloev got out of it, but I was extremely impressed with Grundy. I was extremely impressed in the sense that he was able to get 6 takedowns against Evloev, somebody that has phenomenal wrestling, phenomenal takedown defense, phenomenal grappling, and he was able to take him down 6 times. But I guess the concern I have is he only landed 20 strikes in that fight. After the first round, he was gassed, but I don't think that Lando Vannata will make Grundy work as hard as Movsar Evloev did. You take a look at Lando Vannata, the guy has a 58% takedown defense. I think that's a very important number there. Mark Diakese took him down 4 times. Bobby Green in their last fight took him down 3 times. I think that Grundy should go to those takedowns early. And I talk about the cardio of Grundy as well. But on the flip side, like Vannata, his cardio is not great as well. He definitely slows down himself. So I do like Grundy to come out here, get takedowns early, get a ton of takedowns. But as the fight goes on, I'm curious to see what happens because Lando Vannata is moving down a weight class, and I'm curious to see what he looks like on the scales as well, coming down from 155. So I do want to see the weigh-ins before I do place a wager, but I'm kind of liking Grundy in this spot. I do think he can go out here, mix in the takedowns. Don't think he finishes Vannata, who is a brown belt himself, but I do think he can kind of grind out a decision. So I'm going to take Mike Grundy to win by decision. A fight that I'm looking forward to, a striker versus grappler. Is Vannata going to be able to stuff the takedowns? I lean towards no. So give me Mike Grundy for the win. All right, next we have Renato Souza going against Andre Muniz. Very interesting fight. Very interesting fight here. We have Souza, who is 41 years old, going to be 10 years older, 6'1", 72-inch reach, 26-9 and 1-4 in his last 5 fights. Andre Muniz, 31 years old, 6'1", 78-inch reach, going to have a 6-inch reach advantage, 20-4 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. We'll get into the stats and all that, but first we'll take a look at the odds, and it is a straight pick'em, minus 110 each way. Souza opened up minus 140, currently minus 110. Muniz opened up plus 110, currently minus 110. So yeah, straight pick'em each way. And we'll take a look at the stats here. I do think they're important, and then we'll kind of go through the career of both guys. So Souza, both guys not much output. Souza lands about 2.5 significant strikes per minute, 46% striking accuracy. He does have a 62% striking defense, which is very good. On the flip side, Andre Muniz does land 2.21, 58% accuracy, does absorb 1.8. But this is a big red flag here. It has a 45% striking defense, and you can definitely see it. Like, the guy is extremely hittable. And then we'll take a look at the takedowns here. Muniz does average 2.61, 35% accuracy, 37% takedown defense, a red flag as well. Souza 2.5 takedowns on average, 39% accuracy, 60% takedown defense. So we'll take a look at Andre Muniz here, and he had a very good win in his last fight against Bartosz Fabinski. I believe I cashed on him as an underdog as well in that fight. He was able to get an armbar off his back. But there's some red flags with this guy. I mean, I like the guy. I'm a big fan of Andre Muniz, but he has no cardio. The striking's not there. He's one of those guys that pull guard has no takedown defense at all. I mean, if you want to take this guy down, you can. Bartos took him down easily. Taylor Johnson took him down easily. Was taken down on a contender series as well a couple times. Araujo took him down as well, the striker. So I don't know. I mean, a big red flag for me for Muniz here is going to be that Antonio Arroyo fight where Arroyo was having a lot of success on top of Muniz, and Arroyo had 5 minutes of control time. Antonio Arroyo had 5 minutes of control time, which is a huge, huge, huge red flag. And, you know, Arroyo actually stuffed, 4 takedowns. Muniz was 3 for 7 on takedowns against Arroyo. And we saw how terrible Arroyo's takedown defense was in his last fight against Deron Wynn, where Wynn took him down 12 times. But yeah, like for me, like how does Muniz win this fight? And everybody's going to be talking about it all week, the Souza knockout where he got knocked out by Holland. And if you ask somebody who you have winning, they'll say Muniz. You'll say why? They'll say he just got knocked out by Kevin Holland. He's 41. Like nobody can give like a good reason on why Muniz wins this fight. Like is Muniz going to knock him out? When you take a look at Souza, he's actually been knocked out less times than Andre Muniz. Muniz has been knocked out in all 4 of his fights. I don't think his chin's all that there himself. And you take a look at Souza, he got knocked out by Kevin Holland. He got knocked out by Robert Whittaker. And those are his last 2 knockout losses in the last like 10 years. So is he chinny? Yeah, sure he is. But look at who he's getting knocked out by. And then yes, he's 1-4 in his last 5 fights, but look at who he's losing to. Kevin Holland, who used to be everybody's favorite fighter, Jan Blachowicz, light heavyweight champion, Jack Hermansson, a contender, Kelvin Gastelum. So he's losing to some very, very good guys, Robert Whittaker, and then you have Andre Muniz, who's struggling with Antonio Ahoya. So this is one of those spots where I just think that it's a level spot. There's levels to this. I think Cachoeira has been fighting the much, much, much better competition, and I think the line's this way because of the viral knockout of Kevin Holland. Everybody remembers the knockout. Everybody remembers, yes, he got knocked out from bottom, but is Andre Muniz going to knock him out from bottom? Like, probably not. Is Andre Muniz going to submit a 4th-degree black belt, a couple-time world BJJ champion, a black belt since 2003 in Souza? No, I don't think Souza is going to get submitted. He's never been submitted and probably never will. So how does Muniz win this fight? Maybe a knockout. Maybe a knockout, but even then, like, Muniz isn't much of a knockout threat, you wouldn't think. So I actually like Cachoeira quite a bit in this fight. I'm kind of shocked by the line. Yes, the dude's 50 years old, but stylistically, this is seems like a fantastic matchup to just take down Muniz, who has virtually no takedown defense, stays safe on top. He's not going to get armbarred. He's not going to get triangled. He's not going to, none of that's going to happen. He's not going to get guillotined. None of that's going to happen. 4th-degree black belt. If it happens, I don't even know what I would do. That would be insane. That would be insane if he submitted Cachoeira Souza. But I do like Cachoeira Souza to get it done, and I'm going to say by knockout. Muniz has been knocked out in all 4 of his losses. I don't think his chin's there. And you take a look at Cachoeira's last 6 wins. They're all finishes, and half of those finishes are knockouts. Knocked out Chris Weidman, knocked out Derek Brunson, and he knocked out Victor Belfort. And then another aspect of this fight, like if people think that Muniz is going to get on top of Souza, like you take a look at who has taken down Cachoeira Souza in the last 10 years. Jack Hermansson 3 times. Chris Weidman once. Other than that, nobody. So like I just don't get it. I don't get the Muniz love. I think it's just a ton of recency bias. And honestly, as you know, old as Cachoeira is, I'm fairly confident in him this week. I think he does get it done. I think he can win a decision by getting on top. I think a knockout's live as well on the feet. I think he's the better striker. I think he's the better wrestler. I think he's the better grappler. But yeah, he's 70 years old, so that's a concern. But I do like him to get it done here. So give me Cachoeira Souza for the win, and I'm gonna take him to win by knockout. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be on an island on that one for sure. But you know, the line is closing up a little bit. We see some money coming on Cachoeira as of late. Next, we have Shane Burgos going against, Matt Schnell going against Rogerio Bontorin. We have Matt Schnell is 31 years old, 5'8", 72.5-inch reach, 15-5 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Rogerio Bontorin, he is 29 years old, 5'5", 67-inch reach, 16-3 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Taking a look at the odds for Schnell and Bontorin, we have Schnell open up -195, currently -155. Bontorin open up +160 and +135. In another case of probably the recency bias, I really don't think Schnell should be this big of a favorite, but I do think it should be favored in this fight. Honestly, I think Schnell is better anywhere the fight goes. Yes, Bontorin's a black belt in BJJ, but Schnell's grappling and his ground game is very, very underrated. If he does get taken down by Bontorin, I think Bontorin's going to have to mind his P's and Q's. We've seen Schnell get a couple submissions in the UFC, and he's very, very dangerous off his back. Triangles, guillotines. And I wouldn't be shocked if Schnell is able to wrap up a submission in this fight. And on the feet, Bontorin, we saw him get starched in his last fight against Kai Kara-France in a fight that he was winning the first 4.5 minutes and then ultimately got knocked out bad against Kai Kara-France. Kai Kara-France, a guy that typically you see go to decision, which is not a good sign there. And plus that fight was what, two months ago. So yeah, that's coming back way too quick in my opinion for Bontorin, and Schnell can crack. Both guys can crack. So I like Schnell here. I think he's better on the feet by a decent margin. Tons of output from Schnell. He does land 4.2 compared to Bontorin's 2.9. And even if Bontorin does go to those takedowns, I think he can get them, but I do think he's playing with fire as well. So I think Schnell can win by submission. I think he can win by knockout, maybe decision. But ultimately, I like this from like an under perspective more than a money line perspective. I think both guys are very live for a finish. I think both guys can get a knockout. I think both guys can get a submission. Schnell, honestly, probably is one of the more chinnier fighters in the UFC. I saw the guy knocked out by a little hammer fist that looked like it barely landed. Bontorin can crack himself, but as long as Schnell's chin holds up, I do think he wins this fight. I'm going to say Schnell wins by knockout, but I think he can win by submission as well if Bontorin does take him down. So give me Schnell. I really don't love the price tag. I'm looking at it more from like an under or like a fight doesn't go to decision perspective. But I do think Schnell's the better fighter in this fight, and Bontorin's coming back way too early from his last knockout loss. So Schnell by, I'll say KO. All right, now it is time for Shane Burgos versus Edson Barbosa, which, honestly, this could be, I'd say it could be the best fight on the card. Shane Burgos, Edson Barbosa. This fight's going to be a fire fight. We saw how fun and awesome the last Burgos fight was with Josh Emmett. Fight of the night. I think this has potential to be fight of the night as well. So we'll get into the stats and all that. But first, Burgos, he's 30 years old, going to be 5 years younger. 5'11", 70.5-inch reach, going to have about a half an inch of reach advantage on Barbosa. He's 13-2 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Barbosa, 35 years old, 5'11", 75-inch reach, 21-9, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Taking a look at the odds here, we have Shane Burgos open at -135. Some money came in on Barbosa, and now some money's coming back in on Burgos. He's now -130. Barbosa open at +105, currently +110. Another closely lined fight. Like I said, the majority of these fights are. So taking a look at the stats here, Burgos is somebody that throws a ton of output, lands 7.31 significant strikes per minute. But with that said, he does absorb 5.81. He's very hittable. He is very hittable. He comes forward. No regards to striking defense, 60% striking defense, and he is there to be hit. But he does have a chin to back it up. He took a ton of hard shots from Josh Emmett, and Josh Emmett knocked him down a couple times, but he was not able to get him out of there, which sucked because I think I bet Josh Emmett by KO. But, the guy's tough. The guy's tough. He comes forward. I really like the style of him. You got Edson Barbosa, who's a little bit less output, 3.98 significant strikes per minute, 43% accuracy, does absorb 4.03. So he does have a negative significant strike differential, which I never like seeing. 60% strike and defense himself. I'm not going to get into the grappling stats because I do think both guys have very good takedown defenses. Burgos 89%, Barbosa 78%. I'd be shocked if either guy does shoot a takedown. I do think this plays out on the feet. And yeah, to be honest, I think this is stylistically a very good matchup for Burgos if he does not get knocked out. Like, as long as Burgos' chin holds up, which, like I said, his chin's phenomenal, I think that he can definitely win this fight. Coming forward, Barbosa's not great at backing up. He doesn't like being pressured. It kind of reminds me of the Justin Gaethje fight. And, of course, Burgos is nowhere near Justin Gaethje, but Justin Gaethje came forward, and Barbosa really had no answers, and Gaethje ultimately knocked him out in that first round. I don't think Burgos is going to starch him like that, but I do think Burgos is going to come forward on Barbosa, land a ton of volume. Barbosa wants it at kicking range. He wants it at kicking range, and Burgos is just not going to let that happen. He's going to be in his face for 15 minutes, and I do think that favors Shane Burgos, who I do think is a very good fighter, but he needs to patch up that defense a little bit. But if he does that, he can be a very dangerous guy. He also outlanded Calvin Kattar 89-85. He did get knocked out, but he still outlanded Calvin Kattar. Outlanded Cub Swanson 134-129. So these significant strike numbers we're seeing are pretty crazy. 105-22 by Marcani. He even outlanded Josh Emmett 128-127. So Barbosa, is he going to outland Burgos? I find that very hard to believe. And, we're talking cardios. Burgos has the much better cardio. Burgos can go a full 15 minutes, no problem, throwing a ton of output. I think he's going to have the better gas tank in this fight by a decent margin. But I guess he has to be aware of that first round where Barbosa is going to be most dangerous. But yeah, outside of Barbosa knocking him out, I think Burgos wins a pretty comfortable decision, maybe getting a finish himself. And you take a look at Barbosa. Barbosa does have a couple knockouts in the UFC. I think 3 knockouts. since 2014, 3 knockouts in the last 7 years. So he is dangerous, but I think Burgos definitely has the chin to back up his style. I'm going to take Burgos to win here. I'm going to take him to win by, I'll say 3rd round knockout for Shane Burgos. I think he's going to put it on Barbosa as the fight goes on. I think the damage is going to add up, and I do think he gets Barbosa out of there late. But this should be definitely a fight of the night contender, just with the style of Shane Burgos and how exciting of a fighter he is. So give me a Barbosa to win, and give me Barbosa to win. Give me Burgos to win. Both B's messing me up here. But yeah, give me Burgos to win, and give me Burgos to win by 3rd round knockout. Fight of the night here. All right, next we have Caitlyn Chookagian going against Viviana Araujo. We have Chookagian, who is 32 years old, 5'9", 68-inch reach, 15-4, and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Viviana Araujo, she is 34 years old, 5'4", 68-inch reach, 10-2, and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. So same reach here. Vivian's going to be 2 years older. Taking a look at the odds here, Chookagian opened up -155, currently -135. Viviana opened up +125, currently +115. Another closely lined fight here. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Caitlyn Chookagian, I don't know if she should be the favorite in this fight. We'll take a look at the stats here. Chookagian does land 4.22 significant strikes per minute, 34% striking accuracy, which is the worst on the entire card. And it's because of that, because like she's not close on a ton of the strikes she throws, and she kind of makes these noises. And I think she kind of sways the judges, because if you look at kind of the stats in a lot of her fights, she's getting outlanded in a ton of fights, and she's still winning these close decisions because I think she might be swaying those judges with those noises. But we have a crowd. We have a loud crowd. So I don't know if the judges will be able to hear those sounds, which is, I do think, an advantage for Viviana here. But in all seriousness, like, Caitlyn Chookagian does get outlanded in pretty much every fight. She got outlanded, obviously, by Jessica Andrade when she finished her. She got outlanded, obviously, by Valentina Shefchenko. She was outlanded by Joanne Calderwood, 112-82, in a fight where she was taken down 3 times, and she got a unanimous decision. She was outlanded by Alexis Davis, 70-62, in a fight she won. She was outlanded by Mara Morella Borello, which is a horrible red flag, 79-68, in a fight she won. Like, she's getting outlanded in these fights, but she's somehow pulling off the wins. So back to this here, and we'll kind of get into the grappling stats. But before we do so, Viviana does land nearly 5 significant strikes per minute, 48% accuracy, so she is throwing a ton of volume, and she's the harder hitter in this fight by a decent margin. Caitlyn Chookagian does average 0.27 takedowns per 50 minutes, 3 takedowns, I believe, all coming in that Antonina Shevchenko fight. Other than that, no takedowns in any other fight, 15% takedown accuracy. She's not going to take down Viviana Araujo, who has a 94% takedown defense. Phenomenal takedown defense for Araujo here. I think, if anything, like, Araujo can get a takedown here. She averages 2.33 takedowns per 50 minutes, and Chookagian has a terrible 51% takedown defense. So I think Viviana can mix in those takedowns, and really, I like Viviana in pretty much every aspect on this fight. I think on the feet, she's going to be landing more volume. She's going to be landing the actual shots, not the noises that Chookagian's going to be making. She's going to be landing takedowns on Chookagian as well. I think if she gets on top, she can have a lot of success. She is a black belt in BJJ. I think she can kind of grind out Chookagian with those takedowns. The harder shots, the better shots, the cleaner shots, more movement, same reach. I mean, I like Viviana in every single aspect of this fight outside of Viviana's terrible cardio, but it looks, checking her Instagram, looks like she has been working on that, and you do see within her last couple fights, the cardio has been improving. So hopefully she's continued to work on that cardio, because that is, the downfall of her game is that cardio. But if she comes in, her cardio is looking good, I think this is a very, 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 very winnable fight for her. Yes, it's probably going to go to decision. Yes, it's probably going to be close. Yes, it's terrifying, especially how the judging's been being. But I will take Viviana Araujo to win by decision. And yeah, I'm kind of confused why she's the dog here. And I wouldn't be shocked if this line probably flipped by fight time. But I'll take Viviana for the decision. All right, getting into the co-main event, Tony Ferguson going against Beneil Dariush. A very fun fight. Ferguson, 37 years old, 5'11", 76-inch reach, 25-5, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Beneil Dariush, 32 years old, 5'10", a 72-inch reach, 24-1, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. So, yeah, Ferguson was on like a crazy win streak up until he fought Justin Gaethje, and Went back and watched, his last fight against Gaethje earlier today, and Ferguson just did not look like himself at all. I mean, he's somebody that has taken a lot of damage throughout his career. The guy has a chin on him. And even in the Gaethje fight, he didn't go down. The ref had to stop the fight because he just took so much damage in that fight. He absorbed 143 significant strikes. And he just did not look all that there in that fight against Justin Gaethje. He's getting up there in age, 37 years old. Against Charles Oliveira, he looked even worse. I think the damage is starting to pile up on Tony Ferguson. And honestly, his 2 fights lately, they've been really, really hard to watch, especially considering, I'm a big Ferguson fan. I know a lot of people are as well. They've just been so hard to watch. Like, Oliveira was able to take him down easily. Ferguson really had no answers at all. Ferguson almost got submitted in that fight as well. And I don't know, I just don't think he's the same Tony Ferguson. Like, if this fight was a couple years ago, I'd be taking Ferguson here pretty comfortably, but I just don't think it's the same Tony. 37 years old, getting up there in age. It's hard to be very confident in Tony Ferguson. We'll take a look at the odds here, and Beneil Dariush is a favorite. Opened up -165, currently -170, one of the bigger favorites in the card. Ferguson opened up +135, currently +150. And I agree with that. I guess the only concern I have for Dariush is he does like getting into these wars, into these brawls, which is going to favor Ferguson. I just don't know if Ferguson has what it takes to find a win here. Beneil, though, he is a little bit on the chinny side. He has been knocked out, I think, 2 times. He's been knocked out 3 times, actually. He's been finished in all 4 of his losses. I think Ferguson is live. I think he's live for a finish. It's just he hasn't looked like the same Tony Ferguson. So, Dariush, I've been extremely impressed with what I've seen from the guy. His striking looks great. Output looks great. The chin's been holding up. 5-0 in his last 5 fights. I'm going to take Dariush here. I don't love the line because I think Ferguson's somewhat live, but it's just so hard to pick Ferguson in this spot just with how bad he's been looking. I think the damage has definitely added up, which is as sad as it is. I think it is. And I think Dariush can kind of implement the same game plan that Charles Oliveira did. Take down Tony Ferguson. Beneil Dariush is like a 3rd-degree black belt in BJJ. Obviously, fantastic grappler. Maybe control Ferguson. I don't think he submits Ferg, but take him down. Beneil does average about 2 takedowns per 50 minutes. Control Ferguson. Ferguson was getting taken down very easy in his last fight. And on the feet, probably still outside of a knockout at this point, probably do still favor Beneil Dariush outside of him getting knocked out, cut, something like that. But I'll take Beneil Dariush. I'm going to say he wins by decision. Ferguson, very, very tough to finish. Only person to do so was Justin Gaethje in a fight where he didn't even go down. I mean, that's how tough the dude is. But yeah, give me Beneil Dariush for decision. Interesting co-main event. I feel like I'd be more excited about this fight if it was a couple years ago, but yeah, like I said, at this point, it's just so hard to watch these Ferguson fights. He just doesn't look the same at all. But I will take Beneil Dariush to get the win. And now it is time for the main event. We have Charles Oliveira, do Bronx going against Michael Chandler. Yeah, fantastic fight. I think this is a fantastic matchup. I love this championship, the lightweight championship fight. I love it here. 2 guys that very curious to see. Like Oliveira, it's awesome to see how much his career has kind of turned around. Like, this guy has improved his striking tremendously. This guy has improved his cardio. He's typically somebody that, does slow down a ton as the fight goes on if he doesn't get that finish, but he seems like he's patching up those holes in his game. Then you have Michael Chandler who, coming in, UFC debut against Dan Hooker, starched him in the first minute. Like, nobody does that to Dan Hooker. So, yeah, this fight is phenomenal, and we'll take a look at the odds before we get into the stats a little bit. But we have Oliveira opening up as a -175, currently -130. Chandler opening up +145, currently +110. I do think the line should be kind of where it's at now, probably even closer to a pick'em. But Oliveira, he's 31 years old, 5'10", 74-inch reach, 30-8, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He's on quite a win streak. Michael Chandler, 35 years old, 5'8", 69-inch reach, 22-5, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. So, yeah, it's such a tough fight to call here. I think this fight is going to primarily stay on the feet. Michael Chandler, phenomenal takedown defense. I don't know if Oliveira is going to be able to take him down. If this fight does hit the mat, Oliveira, phenomenal grappler, third-degree black belt in BJJ. Michael Chandler, a black belt himself, but I do think you obviously got to give the grappling advantage to Oliveira. But I'm more so towards this fight just staying on the feet. And even then, like, the striking's pretty close. Both guys are very dangerous. But I kind of favor the pressure of Chandler, the output of Chandler, and the power of Chandler as well. Chandler is very, very dangerous. We saw in his last fight, he came forward against Dan Hooker, knocked him out in a minute. I don't think he's going to starch Oliveira in a minute or nothing like that, but I do think he's going to come in here with that same mindset of, you know, walking forward, throwing a ton of volume, and throwing a ton of hard shots as well. And I don't know, I think he catches Oliveira. Oliveira is somebody that has been knocked out 3 times before. He has been finished in 6 of his 7 losses. Yes, a lot of those were a while ago. Yes, he's improved a ton, but still, Chandler can crack. 77% finish rate from Michael Chandler, 45% by knockout, nearly winning half of his fights by knockout. Ton of power. I do think that he does come forward. He makes Oliveira uncomfortable, backs him up, and eventually finds that shot on Oliveira's shin and puts him out. But man, I think this fight can go either way. And I'll tell you guys right now, kind of give out like a free bet here. I like the unders in this fight. I like the unders 2.5. I like the alternate under 3.5 because I'd be kind of shocked if this fight honestly even hit the second round, let alone like the third round. I'd be like very shocked if it hit the third. I think it's going to be a war. I think it's going to be one of those fights where who goes down first? Who goes down first? And, you know, Michael Chandler, not the best chin himself, has been knocked out twice. So I think a finish is very, very live in this fight. On the feet, if it hits the mat, I think a finish is live on the mat as well. But primarily, I do think it's going to play on the feet, and I do think Michael Chandler does get that first round knockout. But from a betting perspective, especially with the lines now, I am going to be looking at the unders, under 2.5, alternate 3.5, even better. But I'd be kind of shocked if this fight did reach the later rounds. So, but I'll take Chandler. I'll take Chandler to get the first round knockout. But it should be a phenomenal fight, a main event I'm really looking forward to, and overall a pay-per-view that I think is pretty solid, to be honest. So, yeah, that's about it, guys. Just want to remind you guys to leave a like on the video. One small like goes a long way. It doesn't seem like much, but it really does help out with the channel. Also, subscribe if you have not yet. Trying to reach 11K hopefully in the near future. Be sure to comment down your DraftKings usernames. Comment down those significant strikes. Let me know what kind of bets you guys have going on this week as well. Live stream Friday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, and Saturday, 1 hour prior to when the prelims kick off. And then also check out the Patreon. Lots of members on there. Check out the Discord as well. $10 a month is the most popular option for the betting tier. You get early access to my bets for this card. I mean, it's probably a great time to sign up because I have like 8 bets going into this card, going to have the most action I've had all year. Betting breakdown videos, articles, access to Discord, just extra content, the stat model, all that great stuff. Tons of content, $2.50 per week. Really can't ask for a better deal than that. So yeah, lots of great stuff going on. So I'll see you guys Friday. Good luck on your bets. Good luck on your picks. But yeah, should be a fun card. Should be a fun card. It's one of those cards where yeah, I don't mind laying the $70 pay-per-view price for it. So give me. Yeah, I'll pay for it. I usually pay for everyone, but I remember there was 1 or 2 this year where I'm like, I'm not paying for that. But I'll pay for this one. I think it's well worth the $70. Oliveira Chandler. So that's about it, guys. And thank you for all the support and good luck for UFC 262.